Welcome to Live, life inspired views for every day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. I will not forget Agnes Hall. My husband and I met Agnes and her husband Mel years ago. Our first meeting together was in their home. They were retired, and the minute she opened the door to welcome us in, it was like getting the biggest, warmest hug, and it all came through her jovial voice and warm face. We were smitten with her joy from that moment on. What I remember so well from that visit was when she gave us a tour of their small home. In the living room, Agnes reverently pointed to an overstuffed chair in the corner and said, "That is my prayer chair." She went on to explain that every morning she would sit in the chair, read her devotions, pray, think, and have her own time. She would also use it to read books and knit, but it was her special spot, a place where she could call her own. I think it brought her not only a sense of joy, but of peace when she sat and had her own time. It was probably that memory that caused me to start my Harvey Cup time. My Harvey Cup time is a gift from the pandemic. Some of you long term listeners have heard this story, but it bears retelling. The pandemic started changing our lives in of 2020. I was on course to retire as the elementary principal of St. Paul's Lutheran School in Waverly, Iowa. In July of that year, suddenly the schools were closed indefinitely. That meant instead of waking up early to start calling subs before I left for school, I would instead get my coffee and sit in my easy chair to read my morning favorites. I had a special porcelain cup I had brought years ago as a gift from my father in law, Harvey. I kept it in my china hutch. A couple days into the pandemic, I looked at it and thought to myself, why just look at it? Why not use that special cup? So instead of having to call subs each morning, I could drink my coffee while reading from my Harvey cup, lovingly named for my father in law. I have continued that practice ever since. And you know what? It begins my day with a sense of balance, a welcome to the morning, and by having my own time and control, I feel I have already accomplished something in the day. I thought of this the other night after teaching my school counseling graduate students in their internships. They are all in Iowa except for one in Ohio and one in Nebraska. A counselor in schools is really tough right now. Many families are struggling emotionally, and schools are doing everything they can to keep kids safe, taught, and emotionally stable. How do you tell a school counselor or an educator that they need to take time for themselves to regain balance, perspective, and the energy and motivation to continue giving their all to make a difference? Whew. How do I tell them when they have young families to tend to after they get home from an overwhelming day at school, a myriad of activities to run to, kids to, homes to take care of, community events to attend, and sickness, anxiety, and depression in themselves or those around them to offer support to? How do I, a retired woman who teaches part time, tell them to be sure to get enough time alone to rejuvenate? We hear about the importance of self care all the time, of spending time doing mindfulness activities. But when you have the lives, as I've just described now, how do you fit in the sense of finding balance so stressors can be managed? I thought much about it, but the only thing I can hope for is that we all take that chance to find that corner like Agnes did, that spot that can be a place of retreat, even for 5 minutes, to do anything that brings us peace. When I was a young mother, we had a young mothers club. Our mentor mother was Ruth Holton, mother of 8 grown children. She told us that when her children were all young and her life was full of tending to a million needs, she found her time by sitting in a chair in the kitchen with a dish towel over her head. When her children saw that sight, they knew never to interrupt except for an emergency. When she took the dish towel away, she was refreshed. It doesn't take much time, but it takes a designated space and an amount of time. The reason I say designated is because of our memories. Research has shown that when students learn something in a certain spot in the classroom, they will do better on exams if they take the exam from the same spot in the room in which they learned the content. So, it seems to make sense that we can excise that sense of peace, joy, or fulfillment if we return to that designated space that we call our own, to have our sacred moment of time that is only ours, even if it is 5 minutes. Even if it is 5 minutes, it will be something, and something might be enough to make it through another day. My dad used to find his special moment just after waking up. He would lay and just think a bit. We knew that because often at different times in the day he would say, "You know what I was thinking about this morning?" Hmm. It takes intention to find that space and make that dedicated moment of time. But if you do, it might fill a need, reframe your hope, replenish your spirit. This week, on your bathroom mirror, write, "I will be intentional to find my own Harvey cup, place, and time." Join me next Monday for Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.